Okay, so this is kind of a companion video to a build video done by TechNotice about a year and a half ago. It was entitled The Best Video Editing PC Workstation in the World. And it was based on the Asus Z690 ProArt motherboard and the Intel 12900K processor. My computer was way overdue for replacement since it was like 10, 15 years old. So I was looking around for builds, and I pretty much settled on those done by TechNotice. There were a couple. There was this one that I just discussed, but there was also the Threadripper Pro with an infinite number of PCIe lanes, and it just seemed really cool. But then I watched the video build for that, and he said it was like the toughest video thing he ever built, yada, yada, yada. And I said, okay, maybe I won't do that. And I went back to the ProArt motherboard, and it's been a good decision. So from a build point of view, for what I needed, this one really fit the bill. As he describes it, it's super powerful, and probably for video editing is probably as good as it's going to get. And so I was really keen on that. I was a little worried originally, that's why I was looking at the Threadripper Pro, about expandability. But looking at the ProArt motherboard, it had really all the I/O that I was going to need. 10 gigabit Ethernet ports, the Thunderbolt ports. I just did not see the need that I was going to need to expand this. So, yep, I went ahead and I decided to go ahead and build. And to be able to kind of put to shame all the Apple fanboys, that was even a bigger plus. So, spoiler alert, I went ahead and built it. Took about, I don't know, maybe 2 to 3 weeks off and on, getting all the parts, then putting them all together, and then trying to get it to run, and I did, and I've been really happy ever since. So as far as parts went, like I said, I pretty much went with exactly what he had. I liked his videos in that the way he chooses his parts, how they all fit together, his rationale behind them, seems to choose the best combination of things. I felt really comfortable with it. There were some minor changes that I did make. The first was the processor. Again, not a major change. I went from the i9 1290K to the KS. And at least in theory, that gives a 2% increase in performance. And at the time, it was maybe $50 more. I thought that was a pretty good return on investment, so I felt comfortable with that. I knew and know that there is a current upgrade, i.e. the 13900 series Intel processors. And he even has an quote upgraded video to this one where it uses that processor. But in looking at it, there's like a $300, even now, a $300 increase in cost for that. And it does give what appears to be at least a 10% increase in performance. But to be honest with you, with currently how I'm using this, and I use up to 8K B-RAW, I do ProRes, all the others, I've really had no issues with this and don't really feel the need to upgrade the processor. However, it is kind of nice to know that with this motherboard and this socket, if I at a later point and the price comes down, decide that I want to upgrade the processor, that I could pretty much easily do it. Kind of look and see me installing the CPU. Oh, that's not how you do it. Let me try that. Yeah, there you go. No, that's not it. Yeah, that's it. Oh, yep, got it. So, you know, just one of those things that, being a knob, I just had never put the processor in, so it was a little more difficult. This just kind of shows with the lever and the retention bar how you have to line those up. It's kind of difficult to see when the black protector is still on. Oh yeah, and make sure you touch the top of the CPU with your finger to get all the oils on it. No, don't do that. Don't do that. So next I got to install the memory, and I used 2 sticks of 64 instead of the 4 sticks, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I had to try and figure out the orientation. Again, being a newbie to this, they only go in one way. And basically they go into A2 and B2 slots on the motherboard. So I figured that out, not too hard. So the reason I went for the 2 sticks of 64 instead of the 4 sticks to make 64 was it would be very easy to upgrade that. And that was my original thought. I didn't quite have the money at the time. I'm kind of glad I waited, as I'll show you. But the cost was pretty similar between the 2 sticks or the 4 sticks. So I went with the 2 sticks, and then with the idea that I would upgrade it eventually. Interestingly, the cost of the 2 sticks of 64 gigabyte 5600 RAM is now half the price. So I'm definitely going to upgrade that. As a matter of fact, I'm just about ready to pull the switch on that one and go ahead and order it and install it for a total of 128 gigabytes of memory. The next thing to discuss is the NVMe drives. I went with pretty much what he suggested, but what I did do was I went with the 2 gigabyte version of the Cardia. And the original thought was at that time there's all this hype about total terabytes written and the drives are going to blow up and die and yada, yada, yada. So that's why I went with the 2 terabyte version of that. The idea basically that if you get the 2 terabyte version, you basically have doubled the life expectancy of the drive. But when you actually look at this, and there's been a lot written on it, and I've kind of read a lot too, it's just not an issue. The Cardia does have incredible total terabytes written. Basically, the 1 terabyte version is 1800, and the 2 terabyte version basically doubles that at 3600 total terabytes written. If you do the analysis, it's just not gonna be an issue one way or the other. So looking at the output from one of the smart programs on terabytes written, you can see this is at about 7 months, maybe 8 months. Disk 2 and Disk 3 are the OS drive and the work drive respectively. Disk 2 is the Cardia drive, and you can see by 7 months I haven't even written 9 terabytes yet. So we could round that up to say 10 terabytes for 6 months, so 20 terabytes a year. I'm going to be long gone before that limit is reached. So if you look at, say, the current Samsung 990 Pro series, which is kind of the be-all and end-all drives, I guess, now, and look at the 2 terabyte version of that, total terabytes written is 1200. So again, if that's the OS drive, doing the calculations, you're probably just never going to come close to meeting that limit. So my advice would be is choose the 2 terabyte version, especially since the price of these drives has become so reasonable now. Choose the 2 terabyte version, but pick the quickest, fastest one that you can. Okay, so the next issue, kind of an issue, was how to install the fans on the Radiator. From the video, it wasn't quite clear how to do that, and I suppose if you're used to building these, you kind of understand how the fans go on the Radiator. I didn't do that. So I did watch the video, sometimes frame by frame. I got how to orient it. Basically, the non-writing side is the fans are the intake, the writing sides are the outtake. You can then orient the fans onto the Radiator, basically so you can get that dual push-pull configuration, and it seemed to work out pretty well. Note that the I/O is on the left-hand side in the video, and all the connectors are up on top. This should give you the proper orientation. Next, let's briefly discuss the issue of attaching the fans to the Radiator. I originally just basically said, hey, let's attach all the screws and screw it into the radiator and we should be good to go. Turns out, yeah, that didn't work, and this part of the video is pretty funny because it's the moment of revelation when I see that this isn't.
So I can put screws in to do it.
I didn't really see a solution in any of the videos to this, so I kind of made one up, and basically what I did is I just took half of the screws out, alternating the ones I took out, and then used those to attach the radiator fan combination to the case. Basically, you need to use the longer screws, which are actually in the fan pouches. They're actually, I think, in the plastic pouches. They're just maybe a millimeter or two longer. Use those. The washers I actually got from the IO parts, and then I used those 6 of them alternating to attach the fan radiator combination to the case. It looked fine. I know maybe you think it's not secure, but it was solid and just no issues, and so I think that worked as a viable solution. Seem to have misplaced the video part for the install of the CPU cooler. It shows up really well on the build video. There were no issues. It went really easy, but I did not change the thermal paste. I used the one that came on the original IO cooler, and it seemed to be fine. The install for the power supply went really well. I think the power supply is a great choice. The only thing is I didn't attach all the cables, but I did put one extra PSU in case I might need it. And then the SATA power, I put in most of all those. Install went really well. I also did order the wire harness cables that TechNotice suggested. They were from China. I thought, oh, that might be a big delay, but it turned out that they arrived pretty quickly. The one that seemed to work the best was the one for the CPU power. I guess it's a 8+4, and that seemed to just fit really well, and I think that wiring part of it went well. As far as the headers go, the IO cooler I attached directly to the IO cooler terminal on the motherboard, which means basically it's running all the time. For me, I think that's fine. The IO cooler, you can't really hear at all, and I just can't see the reason why you wouldn't want it running all the time. So that's what I did. Hopefully it will be okay. One of the more important observations I had was the blue USB-C connector motherboard to the front of the case. I tried doing this with the motherboard in place, and the angle is just way off. There's just not enough room, and it was very difficult. I ended up bending pins on the connector, had to take motherboard out, fix the pins, and then put the connector in. So my absolute suggestion for this is to put this connector through the opening, put it on to the motherboard, then secure the motherboard to the case, and this should alleviate that problem.
Hopefully it'll work.
So everything seemed to be set, getting ready to fire it up. I did do something different with the fans, not on purpose. The top fans kind of went in backwards. They were not exhaust fans. They were pushing air in, and we'll just have to see how those go. When I turned it on, it did stop at the second light, which I think is orange, and it took 3 times for it finally to go to the green, which showed a pass post. Not sure why. Haven't had any problems since. It's pretty funny, though. I'll put the original soundtrack in. It's pretty funny listening to my surprise when it finally does go through the boot. I'm pretty happy. CPU power with the cords, DX power, graphics card power. I don't have anything else hooked up, just kind of like he did. USB-C power. This is the USB. That fan. I hooked up these fans. These fans go down. This fan's up here. This fan's up here. The fan's down there. Board hooked up. I mean the front panel hooked up. Fans are hooked up. Supposedly the RGB to that is hooked up. Who knows? So I guess we can give it a shot. If it blows up, I'm definitely not going to put this on. So let's power up. And this power up. I don't know whether that's power up or power down. Nothing's happening. And whoa! And it turned orange. Wonder what that means. Turn my light down a little bit. Orange. Get those fans. I got to redo those. That's for sure. All right, the RGB is working. RGB on the card's working. It's still yellow. These fans are blowing. All these fans are blowing. That's blowing. That's blowing. All the fans are blowing. It just stopped. Oh, and it turned off. Nope, turn back on. Oh, now it's past the memory test. I don't know. It's doing something. These fans are blowing. Not very fast. These are blowing. Not very fast. Well, at least it didn't blow up. I'll have to look at what the lights mean. Went off again. I don't know whether that's good or bad. I guess that's bad. Oh, it went on and then went off. Oh, it went on and now it's cycling through again. Oh, crap. Now look and see what that motherboard does mean. I don't think it's working. It stays on yellow. But it's not blowing up. The card's powered and working. Fans are working. Looks like LG is working. Just kind of stops there. Do have power. Not that power. Not CPU power, but sometimes it's not working. Alright, well, I think just cycling through the same shit. Ooh, that looked good. Okay. Huh. And it's green. I think it's it. I think it's it. It's green. That means it went through post. I can't friggin' believe it. Fans moving out. Fans moving air down. These are moving air through. I like it. All right, I'm gonna turn it off. Well. I mean, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. Yes, it is. It's a miracle. I was expecting it to blow up. All right. Well, we'll go to the next part, which is actually seeing if we can get some output out of the card and get the Windows installed. This will be part 2 of the video. So, as far as installing the operating system, etc., it just went really well. That video he has, which is linked below, separate video on installing all the software and stuff, is just perfect. And I used the Hooky link thing, and that's a pretty good deal. Installed Windows 11 on it, and that went really, really smoothly. What I didn't do was I didn't tune the fans, and I don't know whether that's an issue. I may have to re-examine that, but for right now it's okay. Although when the computer really starts firing up, like when I ran Cinebench, it does sound like a jet taking off, but I kind of like that. It hasn't really bothered me too much. So I'm going to play some of the performance test results in the video while I give you all some of my final thoughts. Although it may not seem like it, this is definitely a totally unbiased review on this build. I'm totally glad that I took the plunge as a newbie and went ahead and took the leap of faith on this TechNotice guy and did the build. As I said before, his builds are really well thought out. The parts are really good. They fit and form a really good unified end product. So yeah, I'm totally glad that I followed his video and ended up with what turns out to be a really good product. As to the performance, yeah, even a year and a half later, I would still say this is one of the top PCs that you can build or have. It definitely fills all my video editing and photo editing needs. It handles, I do 8K and 6K RAW. I got a new R3, and it handles all those codecs really well without any issue. So from a performance point of view, I think even a year and a half later, it still is pretty tops. I know there is a newer video out with the updated version of the best video editing PC in the world. But to be honest with you, I would still now even probably go with this one. And the simple reason is I think for the cost versus what you get, I think this is still a great deal. The prices have really come down since the video first came out in a year and a half. I could link all the prices and do all that, but by the time you see this, it may have changed. Everything has come way down. The only thing that hasn't, which weirdly is the video card, which for some strange reason is significantly more expensive than when I get it. I think I got it when the video prices were just going crazily low. So I was glad about that. So yeah, even now, I would think I would still go with this current PC build. I think it gives the best return on investment and the best bang for your buck currently. After 6 months of using this, I have had no issues. Again, since that first little trouble booting up the first time, it's just functioned extremely well. In the back of your mind, you have to be a little nervous that there is no warranty for this, but I think going through the build, learning all the stuff that I did, being really familiar with the components, if something went wrong, with a little help from my friends, you could probably figure it out and get it running again. So yeah, I still think it's good. And the learning process, the actual journey to building it, was actually a little painful maybe at times, but was kind of fun. And that time when you fire it up and it actually starts to work, as you can see, it's really a pretty exhilarating feeling. As stated, I don't really have a need or feeling that I need to upgrade this. The only thing I probably will do is add the other 64 gigabytes of memory, those two sticks, since that price has come down, and I think that would be worth the investment and hopefully increase the performance a little bit. So that's about it. I hope this video helps a little bit. I hope it might give you the impetus to go ahead and pull the trigger and go for it and build a PC. I think using the TechNotice videos are really good. I have linked a bunch of his other videos that I might have used too. There's the video for how to install the software and the Windows and stuff. Make sure you watch that because that just makes it really easy to install everything, get all the components running, tune the fans, which I really didn't do, and get everything else going. There are a couple of other videos that I've also linked down below, which, although not directly related to this build, might be good to watch because they go into a little more depth on all the little intricacies that I had to kind of painfully or kind of like fun learn on my own to get the PC components to all come together. So that's it. Great build, worth taking the plunge and doing it. I think you'll be really happy. I think you'll be happy with the performance and probably for many years to go. There's always the chance that if you need to, you can upgrade the CPU if you need to. And so there's that. So that's about it. Not much else to say, and I think I'm going to sign off and go play with my computer. Catch you all later.